Hi, everybody. My name is Keith Freeze, and I was looking at this article the other day from Pro Hockey Rumors. I'll leave it down in the description for you, and you guys can check it out for yourselves. But basically, what I wanted to get at with this article, I'll try to make this video kind of quick today, but you'll see throughout the article, I'm about halfway through it. But it lists different players that are free agents at the end of this upcoming year or this upcoming summer, and then the years after that. So next year, and then the year after that. And again, you guys can read it for yourselves and kind of see, you know, what you think of it. And we all have our own opinions about who's staying and who's going. But the bigger thing I want to say is that long term, it looks like the Kings do have some of their big core pieces in place. Guys that are signed through 26, 27. That's kind of why I started the article like a little bit down, because I want to talk more about future projection rather than the immediate. But you can see that guys that are signed for the next 2 years is Danault, Doughty, Foegele, Kemper, and Turcotte. You don't have to explain that. It's their big name guys right now. Danault, probably by the time this contract ends, is maybe the third line center. He's already kind of playing third line. He bounces between second and third. So by this point, I'd say maybe second. Maybe Turcotte, if he can, literally become that everyday NHL player that he's been this season. He's probably that second line center. Maybe Byfield's 1C at that point. Then you've got Foegele with Turcotte on the second line. You've got Doughty still in the at least top four on the defense. And Darcy Kemper, if at this point is not the starter, he's certainly still the backup. So, again, core pieces in place going forward. And then sign through the year after that, or even after that, is, you've got Mikey Anderson. He's going to pair with Doughty. That's a given. And if they break up that pairing, you can still expect Mikey to be in the top four defense. You got Byfield, like I said, probably first line center by this point. Joel Edmondson, probably still in that top four discussion, but maybe, maybe like the fifth defenseman on the roster that can play up or down a line or up and down a pairing if need be. Fiala still at this point would be in his prime, and he's probably on that first or second line. I'd say maybe the first line, where you got Fiala, Byfield, and Kempe. Again, by this point, Kempe has his contract has already expired, but I'm expecting that the Kings will re-sign him, and that would probably be the long-term plan. Would you have Fiala, Byfield, and Kempe as the top line? Maybe Foegele, Turcotte, and Laferriere, who's also going to need a extension at some point here. Maybe that's your second line, and then your third line is anchored by Phillip Danault, and you can plug in accordingly. I think that the fourth line is definitely going to be Andre Lee and Samuel Hellenius with somebody else. At this current juncture, I'll just kind of say in the short term real quick that you could re-sign Tanner Jeannot if he's willing to take about the same amount of money he's making now. I don't think that would break the bank, and that could be a really solid fourth line for the next handful of years, where you'd have Lee, Hellenius, and Jeannot. I'm going to make kind of a different suggestion here. Now, that would be preferable, okay? I'm going to say that would be preferable. But Hellenius and Lee played in Ontario with Taylor Ward. Now, is Ward maybe ready for the NHL every day versus a Tanner Jeannot? I think I'd rather take a Tanner Jeannot. But what I'm getting at is this, is that if you could sign Andre Lee and Samuel Hellenius long term, like let's say you sign both of them to matching 5 or 6 year deals, maybe one of them's making $1.5 million, the other one's making $2 million, something like that. You could plug in a Taylor Ward, somebody that is familiar with them. The three of them have played together a lot. You could plug in a Taylor Ward and say to Taylor, I'm going to sign you to a 3-year deal worth $775,000 or whatever, right? So now you're really not breaking the bank. And you have a fourth line that has size, yes. It has physicality, and it also has some level of familiarity because these guys have played together. So what I'm getting at is that if you want to keep some of these guys around long term, the Adrian Kempes that you're going to have to re-sign at a higher dollar value. Same with LaFerriere or Brandt Clark. You may want to maybe make that fourth line as strong and competitive as you can without breaking the bank. And that's why I do think that Andre Lee, Samuel Hellenius, and Taylor Ward could be a good option for your fourth line. Why not? Tanner Jeannot, again, keeping him around, especially if he's willing to sign a long-term deal, maybe around $2 million, 2.5 at the most per season, then we're having a different discussion. But I'm simply saying that, in terms of keeping consistency and dollar value low, may not be the worst thing to try Taylor Ward out. So there you go. He's also, fairly young. I think he's in like his mid-20s or just coming into his mid-20s. So he's got time to play still. Anyway, so looking again back in the future projection, you've got Kevin Fiala, like I said, and you've got Trevor Moore. And by this point, Trevor Moore is probably playing on the third line with Phillip Danault. So I'm saying that looking at the long-term projection of things, the Kings actually have their core in place. And now what I would say is this is maybe my realistic projection of the Kings. Okay, I think that their championship window with the roster that they created over the last couple years, like their strongest chance was maybe last year or the year prior. That's just my opinion. I really thought that Trevor Moore, Phillip Danault, and Victor Arvidsson was such an amazing line that should have been the Kings' second line. And having Kopitar with Kempe and Byfield, that was your top line. I totally get that. But then when they started adding in all these other things or trying to make trades to make the second line the third line, I think they lost the plot. That's my opinion. I think they lost the plot a little bit, and I think their championship window with who they had in place went away. Now, it's not totally gone because the long-term guys are still there. But I do think that there now has to be a restructuring of what that plan looks like. Restructuring, I don't mean retooling, and I don't mean tearing it down and whatever. I mean that the pieces are there. It's just simply now, like, our championship window was last year, and now it got changed, so now it's 2 years from now. Okay, so that's the way I look at it. Is like, let's make our real run count when we get there. So prepare for that now is kind of what I'm getting at. So, if Phillip Danault is the third line center at that point with Trevor Moore on his left wing, then that has to happen now. If Quentin Byfield, Adrian Kempe, and Kevin Fiala is your future first line, that has to happen now. Like my point is suspend the things that happen now for the outcomes that come later. And I'm also saying too, not just because so that they play with each other and they get familiar with each other and all that. I'm saying actually give them the responsibility of playing on the line that they will be playing on. So, like as an example, because you got Drew Doughty on the screen here, but Drew Doughty, if at that point he's your second pairing right shot defenseman, when he comes back this season, he has to be the second pairing right shot defenseman. Prepare for that moment now, just repetitively, and get there. So that's my opinion. I'm not a coach and I'm not a GM, and I'm sure that there's plenty of hockey experts out there that will tell you I'm dead wrong. But again, I'm saying that in order to prepare for any test in life, you have to research, you have to practice, you have to take quizzes, etc., right? So if you go into the test cold or you haven't had this kind of experience, it's going to be a foreign thing for you. You might get some of the answers right, you might get some of them wrong, but you're going to feel far more confident going into that test going, no, I studied this, I know the results of this, and it is X, So my point is that put Quentin Byfield at 1C with Kevin Fiala and Adrian Kempe if that's your future top line. Put Alex Turcotte with Warren Fogle and Alex Laferriere on the second line if that's your future second line. You know, I'm going to make kind of an oddball suggestion here, but if Trevor Moore and Philip Deneau are your future third line, put Anze Kopitar at the third line right wing spot. I personally think Anze Kopitar at this point in his career should be playing on the wing because he's got a great shot. And also, when they shoot from the middle, because he's a left shot, it opens up his shooting lane, put him at right wing. It makes a whole hell lot of sense. And I'm saying that you never know. Kopitar might sign an extra 2-year extension to move off of center but play at right wing. You know, take off some of that extra responsibility. But if that's the case, put Trevor Moore with Philip Deneau and Anze Kopitar. You know, I'm just saying, try those things now, see what you get a feel of it, and then know that it's a good future projection. Some of the best teams play together for years before you ever see it materialize. So it has to happen now so that the result can happen later. Either way, thank you for checking out this video. My name is Keith Freeze. Have a great day, and go Kings go.